All right, today we're jumping into a massive question, one that really shapes everything from how we raise our kids to the policies our governments create.
What is the real secret to success? I mean, for decades, we all thought we had this figured out. The answer seems so simple, so intuitive, and believe it or not, it all started with a single tempting treat.
That's right, we're talking about the famous marshmallow test. You've probably heard of it, right? It became this total icon of pop psychology, promising it could reveal a kid's entire future, all in just a few minutes of pure, agonizing temptation.
The setup is just legendary. Picture this, a little kid all alone in a room with a marshmallow sitting right in front of him. The deal is, you can eat it now, or if you can just hold out until the researcher comes back, you'll get to. It was supposed to be the perfect test of what we call delayed gratification. And the guy behind the whole thing, the psychologist Walter Mischel, he made this really powerful claim. He argued that this simple act of self-control, it wasn't just about candy. No, he said it was a window into a person's entire life. And honestly, the first results that came out, they were absolutely staggering. Researchers followed these kids for years, and they found that the ones who held out for that second marshmallow, well, they went on to have higher SAT scores, better coping skills, and even lower BMIs as adults. It looked like a slam dunk.
So, the conclusion seemed totally clear, right? Willpower is the key ingredient. If you've got it, you're set for life. But, and this is a big but, like with so many simple stories, new evidence has come along and it's painting a much, much more complicated picture.
So let's talk about how this whole story started to unravel. Researchers went back to the drawing board, this time with way better tools and much bigger, more diverse groups of people. And what they found? Well, it changes pretty much everything.
Okay, check this out. A huge follow-up study in 2024 basically pitted the old belief against this new reality. And here's the kicker. Once the researchers adjusted for things like a child's family background and their general cognitive ability, that famous link between waiting for the marshmallow and success later in life, it just completely disappeared.
I mean, the conclusion from this new study is just stark. It basically says the marshmallow test, this icon of willpower we've all heard about, doesn't reliably predict adult outcomes. So what we thought was a pure test of willpower was probably just reflecting a kid's background and other skills they already had.
All right, so if willpower isn't the magic bullet we all thought it was, what about the other big idea that's been everywhere lately? I'm talking about mindset. Specifically, this idea of a growth mindset.
You've probably heard of this, right? The whole concept of a growth mindset has totally swept through schools and companies. It's this really powerful, appealing idea that your intelligence isn't fixed, that it's something you can develop and improve through hard work. Basically, if you believe you can get smarter, you actually can.
And this idea became incredibly popular, especially in schools, as a way to help close those persistent achievement gaps between kids from different backgrounds. But the question is, how much of that gap does it actually explain? Well, a massive new study decided to find out. And the number is 2.9%. That's it. A huge study looking at data from 73 different countries found that growth mindset explains less than 3% of the achievement gap tied to socioeconomic status. Just a tiny, tiny sliver. So that leaves us with this giant question, right? If these two heavy hitters of individual psychology, willpower and mindset, explain so little of the difference in how people turn out, what on earth are we missing? Where is the other 97%? To find the answer, we actually have to zoom way out. There's been this quiet revolution happening in economics, all powered by big data, and it's shifting our focus away from what's inside a person's head to the world right outside their front door. And a key figure in this is the Harvard economist Raj Chetty. He had this incredible vision. He thought, what if we could create a map? A map that shows a kid's chances of moving up in the world based simply on where they happen to grow up. So, using anonymous tax records from millions and millions of Americans, Chetty and his team actually built that map. And the results are just wow. For example, if you're a kid from a low-income family growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, you have about a 4.4% chance of making it to the top 20% of earners. But take that exact same kid and have them grow up in San Jose, California, their chances nearly triple. Same kid, different place, vastly different outcome. But this raises the huge scientific question, right? Is this just correlation or is it causation? I mean, are some places just magnets for families that are already on a path to success? Or does the place itself, the schools, the neighbors, the opportunities, does it actually cause kids to do better?
Well, to figure that out, Chetty's team looked at a fascinating real-world experiment called Moving to Opportunity. Back in the 90s, some families in high-poverty public housing were randomly given vouchers to move to wealthier neighborhoods. Years later, Chetty tracked down the kids from those families. And the result? The kids who were young when they moved ended up earning 31% more as adults compared to the kids who stayed behind. That's not just a correlation. That's proof. Place causes success.
So what does this all mean when we put it all together? It kind of feels like we've been obsessing over the wrong ingredients in the whole recipe for success.
And this really lays it all out. For so long, we thought individual traits like willpower and mindset were everything. But when you look at the best data we have now, their predictive power is, well, it's pretty small. And at the same time, the one thing we often overlook, a person's childhood environment, literally where they grow up, turns out to be a massively powerful causal factor.
So when you think about it, the real recipe for success seems to be less about the individual ingredients inside a person and a whole lot more about the kitchen they're cooked in. The quality of their neighborhood, their schools, and the opportunities that are all around them.
And all this leaves us with one final, really important question. Because of this big data revolution, we can now see the map of opportunity with incredible clarity. We can literally pinpoint the neighborhoods and environments where kids have the best shot at success. So the question is, now that we know this, what do we do next?